Hello and welcome to The Witch Source. I'm Whitney and I am here with Courtney.
Hello.
And Phoenix Rose.
Hello.
And we are finishing up our Clairsenses series. We're going to talk about a little bit. We're not going to dive too deep into it, but we wanted to talk about mediumship, remote viewing, and psycho and telekinesis. So hopefully we give you enough information to keep you interested. And then if you want to go further with it, you certainly can.
Right.
So we want to talk about mediumship because it actually, there's a lot of different levels to it, but it ties in it can tie in all of the clairsenses. So a medium is, somebody that, well, let me just go with my definitions because you guys know I do my definitions.
Right.
So mediumship is a psychic ability to communicate with people who have passed on from their earthly body. So that's kind of the definition of what mediumship is. But there's different ways that this can show up. So a medium can often use all of their different clairs that we've talked about in our series to receive this information and these messages. And what I find interesting is not only can they talk to people who have crossed over, but there's different forms of this. So, for example, they could communicate with a ghost or a spirit that has not completely crossed over into the spirit world, or they can talk to people who have completely crossed over and are now in soul form. And then you can also have a considered form of mediumship would be talking to spirit guides, angelic forms, or other entities that maybe aren't necessarily a person that has walked the earth.
Right.
So there's that aspect too. But really, people can connect with their spirit guides and can communicate with their spirit guides, through practicing the different clairs, the clairaudient, the clairvoyant. And you can get messages from your spirit guides. And then taking it a step further, I guess, would be, taking that step into the mediumship process and actually communicating with people to relay messages from loved ones. So that being said, we'll dive into the fun stuff here. The learning educational pieces that you guys know I like to do. So the mediumship can actually be broken down into 3 different types. So there's a physical, a mental, and a psychic medium. So if anybody can remember, we had a movement back in like the 1840s to 1820s called spiritualism. And this is really when the mediumship part, I think, got really, really popular because people were trying to connect with their loved ones from, who had passed or died, especially from the world wars and stuff that were going on. And people really didn't know what happened to their loved ones. And they wanted to know and try to make a connection and find out. So that's really when mediumship kind of got popular. And then you had things like seances going on.
Right. Where then they called in the dead.
Right.
There was also a lot of scamming going on at that same time as well.
Of course. I mean, why not?
Exactly.
Look at what goes on nowadays with all the scamming, the spiritual scamming and everything.
Oh, yeah, exactly. So it's still happening today. I mean, there's still so many scammers out there. But the sad thing is, mediumship is real.
Exactly.
And the people that can do it and, that are legit, they really have to weed their way through all these scams and all these people that are, making it really hard. And so like with the seances, have any of y'all ever done a seance or had a seance or been a part of one?
No.
So
I don't know
if we go to one.
Oh, wait a minute.
Be a part of one.
Continue your story, because what were you going to say?
No, go ahead. What do you got?
Well, no, I was going to say, I don't think I've ever been to one. If I have, you tell me.
Oh. No, I don't think I've ever been to a legit quote seance. Um, but I think back in the day, it would be this whole everybody gathers and you sit in this dark room by candlelight and you hold hands, and then the medium would start asking questions, and then the spirit would communicate like through tapping or moving objects and things like that. And I don't know. I've never experienced. Well, okay, no, I have actually talked to and okay. So let me take that back, because I have communicated with a spirit through like asking and having tap responses. Have you guys ever had that happen?
No.
No. But do you remember the story about the two sisters? And for the life of me, if one of you has got a computer up, it was the two sisters way back when that they conducted the seances, and the tapping on the walls and the knocking that they heard. They said later on was actually them like popping knuckles and stuff like that.
Okay, I do know the two sisters from back when that spiritual movement was going on, and they traveled around, and that's how they made money.
Right.
Was doing the seances, and it was all like the knocking, and that was their form of communication.
The table moving and shaking and
but it was one of these shows that I was watching. I think it was Mysteries at the Museum. You guys are you familiar with that show on the History Channel?
Oh,
And
love that.
I remember them doing an episode. They had something from that belonged to those sisters in one of these museums, and they, went and found out that in one of these houses that they were in, they had gotten these responses and these knocks, and somebody had been murdered in the house supposedly and had been buried in the wall or something.
Oh, wow.
Like years later, they found the body in the wall.
Oh, goodness.
So, I mean, it kind of makes you wonder, okay, first off, I mean, when you pop your knuckles, how many times are you able to pop your knuckles?
Not very often.
It's a one-time thing, right? So if you're sitting there doing a seance and you're trying to get these different responses and everything, you can't sit there, and continue to pop these knuckles and to do that.
Right. Eventually you're going to run out of ways to keep making this stuff happen.
Right. Especially if you're like holding hands, or something like that,
You only got so many toes.
Right. So, I mean, that almost, you don't want to say it discredits, their reply to that, they're debunking themselves. But, at a certain point in time, seances and mediumship fell out of favor.
Right.
So
because of all the fraudulent stuff that was going on.
Right. So, I mean, it really makes you question, it makes you wonder, was that the case for them?
Right. Well, go ahead.
I was going to say, I can pop my ankle over and over again. There's sometimes it'll pop and I can get it to pop and pop and pop and pop. So maybe they had a joint on them that they knew how to twist just right. Or maybe there was something in their shoe.
Well, right. That's true. I don't know. I just remember that Mysteries at the Museum or whatever that show is. I remember it left me kind of like, maybe they left that little bit of like, maybe this is legit there, because of what they ended up finding after the fact. And I think if I remember correctly, it was all discovered like after
Were they the only ones that went in there?
Do what?
Were they the only ones that went in there? Was there anybody before them that went into the house that may have been legit and been like, oh yeah, no, we've heard these stories, and these girls may have had intuition and was like, oh, well, there's somebody in the walls or something.
I don't know. I can't remember the whole story. I just remember, on that episode that they were talking about how that's what they did for a living. They went around, that's how they made money. But then this one particular place that they were in had all these responses of this is what had happened. And then years later, when they were retired, they were old, they weren't traveling anymore. They didn't even want to talk about, when they had done all that stuff. But then they found out there was truth to everything in that particular location where they were at. So it kind of just left it all.
You get lucky once, huh?
Well, I can add, there are, several famous people that, religiously attended seances. One being, was it Mary Todd Lincoln? Abraham Lincoln's wife. She would regularly do seances because she loved him so much. She wanted to communicate with him again. And then, the other one being Harry Houdini's wife, because he said if he was able to communicate, after his death, that he would, my son just walked in. So if he was able to communicate, he would communicate with her via seance. So she never did hear from him.
Oh.
But she continued, going to the seances to try and, to give him the opportunity to communicate.
That's pretty cool. Well, and so that is what would, I guess, be considered a physical medium, as well as back then, too, they would have this thing where the medium would go into this trance state, and then they would exude a substance called ectoplasm from their body, and that is the material from which a spirit would use to manifest themselves in physical form. So, and a lot of that was proven very, very fraudulent as well. They were finding out that these, mediums were swallowing things like cheesecloth and, different stuff ahead of time, and then basically throwing it up to try to make all this psychic phenomenon happen where supposedly the spirit would, show itself with this ectoplasm.
So they get the big bucks.
Right, exactly. And so I don't know a whole lot about ectoplasm. I've never seen it, never experienced it. Don't know a whole lot about it. Not sure if it's a real thing or not. And then you have the whole ectoplasm and Ghostbusters, and it gets,
now,
filmed.
Let me ask you a question. So I lived in a house in South Carolina. Mm-hmm. We had purchased it knowing that someone had committed suicide in the house.
Oh my, okay.
Yeah, he had shot himself in the head. And I mean, we had random things start happening in the house. It was crazy. The TV would turn on and off by itself. But then out of one of the vents, a red substance started oozing out. So,
oh my,
is that ectoplasm?
I don't know. Maybe.
Right. We didn't live there long. I think we lived there about a year before, we decided. I mean, it wasn't anything to do with the house that made us leave. But
I mean, that would have been enough for me.
Well, I will say that after we left, the TV never acted up again. So there is that. I'm like,
would everybody see the red plasma or the red stuff?
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
Oh, wow.
So maybe he was just really good at making a stain. Was that where his stain was?
No, it was in the other. I had 2 living rooms in that house, and it was in the first living room that he committed suicide, and it was in the adjacent living room where it happened.
Did I ever go to that house? I don't remember any of this.
It's the one in Chester.
Oh, okay. Maybe I was there once. I think I did go there once. I must have not known the story.
Yeah, it wasn't something that the whole reason I found out somebody had died was I was in the process of, going to buy this house, and a lady I worked with said, "Oh, Well, my daughter-in-law's father, or
Oh
my
my
son-in-law
gosh. So
father,
it's somebody that knew somebody?
yeah,
They didn't tell you ahead of time? My goodness.
the realtor didn't tell me ahead of time. I
They're
found out through a coworker and then went to the person who was trying to sell me the house. And I'm like, did you know someone committed suicide? He's like, well, yeah, that's part of your due diligence.
Oh
Um,
my gosh.
oh,
Oh
well,
my.
okay.
Okay. Wow. All right, you guys. So if you're out there and you're looking to buy a house, do your research. Go
I
to
don't,
them.
Apparently, there are also a lot of states they have to disclose it in. Maybe you lived in one that didn't.
well, that's what I was thinking, that it was something that had to be disclosed, but
Like
apparently,
within, if there's like a death or something that happens in the house within like the last 3 or 5 years or something, they're supposed to tell you.
well,
Wow.
they were going to let that one slip by.
Wow. There's an
Name
extra
it.
bit of information, an extra tip for you guys out there. You're buying a house. Check it all
Don't
out
you get in
first.
so much trouble for that?
So another type of mediumship is automatic writing. So, and that's where you are essentially channeling a spirit, and then you allow them to write through you. And this was a big thing back then as well, the automatic writing. And there were some pretty cool things that came out of this, because sometimes these people would write in different languages that they didn't even know.
Well,
And they would have
I
to
mean,
use
that right there would show me proof that it was real,
I love
especially if their handwriting changes, if the way they write changes, the way they speak a different language, definitely.
Right, because another one is direct voice, where they would let the person come in and speak through them, and the person's, voice. And sometimes they would say even the look of their physical face would change to match the person who had passed, but their voice and accent, language, all of that would change. And this person had, did not know this language that they were now suddenly speaking.
Right.
So,
Yeah, channeling is pretty awesome. If you're able to do it, it's something you got to be careful with, but it's pretty neat for the person receiving it.
Right.
So you talking about that reminds me of was it Ed Cayce? Was that his name? You remember? I think not Grandpa Bob was talking about. He was interested in him at one time, but he was the man that would go to sleep or go into a trance-like state, and he would talk, and they would write everything that he would say while in that. You know what I'm talking about, don't you?
I think I do. And I mean, that's part that is another thing of like somebody going into a trance-like state, and then so that's another one we're going to touch on, and that's kind of a little bit different from channeling, where you're talking or communicating or let a spirit kind of move through you, but you are still in your being.
Right.
Another type is trans mediumship, where you actually move out of your own body and allow this spirit or entity to enter in your place and do things. And a lot of times I think that is done, or at least in this setting and how they were doing it then, was done in a trance-like state. So I could see having somebody there to, record whatever was said or done and all that. But as far as that, I don't know exactly who you're talking about, maybe, but I know it's out there.
It was recently, within the past 100 years or what have you, that this guy would do that. And so I don't have access to my computer at the moment because I got a grandbaby sleeping. He's in the back room. But yeah, he was and he did predictions kind of like Nostradamus, or no, shoot, who am I thinking of?
The end of the world predictions kind of things.
Yeah.
Okay, Edgar Cayce.
Edgar Cayce, not Edward. Edgar. Thank you.
Yes, Edgar Cayce, the American clairvoyant. Yeah.
Yes.
Who claimed to channel from his higher self while asleep. Yes.
Yay, I got it right.
Yes, you're right.
I was 90% accurate.
So I think that as far as like the channeling and the trance mediumship, you have to be so careful with that. Oh, and then another one, of course, is the Ouija board, which became very popular and can be used as a form of, quote, mediumship to communicate with spirits, and is also technically a form of channeling because the spirit is moving through you to move the planchette with your hands. So you want to be really, really careful when you're doing this stuff because you can open yourself up to, lower astral entities, and it can get very, very dangerous. So it's not something that we advocate playing around with by any means. You definitely want to make sure that you have your psychic defenses up and that you have some education studying and know what you are doing.
I swear, you take the fun out of everything. Don't do it.
Okay, so you guys, we are on here doing this podcast, and we can all see each other while we're talking. And my sister's son is on here being goofy and making funny faces in the camera, and we're trying to record a podcast. So I guess I'm not fun because I'm not laughing.
I was not even talking about that. I was talking
about what you're talking about. Then I have no idea what you guys are talking about. Are you talking about taking the fun out and not just like, hey, go pull out the Ouija board and have some fun?
Exactly. That's what I was talking about.
Pull out the Ouija board.
I'm gonna go right down to my local Walmart and get me one for $14.99 and have some fun.
Oh Lord,
no,
you
don't
guys
do it.
know.
You remember that used to be the thing when we lived in Nebraska. People would go to Hannah's grave and do a Ouija board on top of her grave.
Oh my gosh, I never did that.
I never did that. We could never find it.
So there was it was a legend about Hannah's grave. I don't think she had a grave. I thought she committed suicide and threw herself into the river.
Man, there are so many stories on that.
I mean, there is no grave to go do this, quote, Ouija board seance at.
There is an actual grave. Indian Steve posted a picture. And okay, I'm sorry, guys. I call him Indian Steve. I know that there are some people that, but that's what he calls himself.
Yes, that's what he goes by. I mean, it's but anyway, so yeah, I didn't know that he had done that.
Yeah. He posted a picture of Hannah's grave. Now, Dad was saying that they've actually blocked off the road to get there.
They probably should, because it was a very popular site that people would go to or try to find.
Leave a comment if you want to hear more about Hannah's grave.
Yeah,
we have awesome stories about it.
Several awesome stories.
Yeah, we do.
But no, okay, so you guys, I'm sure there's so many people out there who have had some crazy experiences with Ouija boards. And
yeah,
I really would say, please be careful.
So,
you guys have stories you want to share?
When I was in 6th grade, it was when we were living in the apartments in Pineville. A girl that I went to school with, her dad was at work one evening, and so we decided it would be great fun to play the Ouija board. Now, I completely thought, whatever, just totally moving the thing, and I was completely, at ease, not concerned, this is stupid. Until she went and got a kitchen knife and chased me with it. Right. I went and locked myself in a room because this bitch went crazy.
She started chasing you with a kitchen knife?
Yep. She completely flipped her shit, chased me with a kitchen knife. I ran into the other, into a room, locked myself in there, and I refused to leave. I think I didn't come out until her dad got home.
And then
I'm
she was fine.
yep. So I'm like over here, like this, and I'm still willing to say that, no, she was complete just bullshitting. But at the same time, why are you going to go do that?
You think she was just trying to scare you?
I think so. And I'm just like,
That's a little over the top. Just a little bit.
Yeah, the only other time I've done anything was when I was with you.
Okay.
So I was like, nay.
Rose, do you have any Ouija board experiences?
Oh, no.
No, okay.
Well, I mean, I've got one. We played with one that was apparently haunted, and it's like it terrorized this family, and there was a demon connected to it, and blah, 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 and, all that fun stuff that goes with playing with Ouija boards.
Well, tell us more. What happened?
We were followed by an entity for a couple of blocks, and we were all young and kids. We were a group of us. So, I mean, if we really seen what we seen, God only knows. It could have been, like we were really fucking with each other and just feeding into each other's fears over the whole thing.
Right.
But, right. I mean, it was a fun experience.
And mass
it was scary, but very fun,
Mass hysteria is a real thing. You can totally, in a group of people, even just a group of two.
Oh, you can fuck with somebody's head hard.
Oh, yeah. Yeah.
I mean, all you have to do is be like, oh my God, did you just see that?
Right.
Did you just see that? Like, really? Did you just look? Oh my God, look, it's moving. And then all of a sudden be like, oh my God, and then you've got, oh my God, ah, screaming. And, that's why I say Ouija boards are fun. Like, if you don't, really, I mean, if you're going to go out there and you're going to get on YouTube and you're going to go down the Ouija board hole, you're going to find scam after scam after scam after scam. You're going to find Zozo here and Zuzu there and Mika Maka Woo Woo over here and, Jack Be Nimble here. And, oh my God, watch out for this scary one that, its name is Bob. But really just have some fun with it if you really want to. If you're in a safe place and, you want to follow the right rules and you go in with your own beliefs, because whatever you believe is what you're going to experience. And, they've had scientific reports done on this that it's actually, most 90% of the time, it's you doing it subconsciously.
Right.
You're moving the planchette yourself, fucking with yourself. So why not?
Right.
Well, fuck with yourself a little.
So in all serious note, though, despite all the seances and the ectoplasm and the knockings and the frauds, and mediumship really is a real thing. So there is the psychic medium.
I love the psychic medium. I'm sorry. I'm so excited for the psychic medium. They rock. I love the dark and the spooky.
So the psychic medium has the psychic piece along with the mediumship. So they're using their clairs, but they're also using their knowing, and they're getting lots of real information that can be validated. And these are your real deal psychics, and mediums. So while we are laughing and joking and kind of picking fun at some of the stuff, it still can be legit, and, despite all the fraud, there's still very much truth and realness to it.
Are you thinking Mary Beth?
Oh, there are some really good psychics out there for sure.
Yeah, I love Amy.
So have you guys, Rose, do you have any experience with some psychics that you want to talk about, mediums?
Oh, I haven't had any really. I mean, I'm a big fan of, I'm going to say it, the Dead Files. I love the Dead Files. Amy is my absolute favorite. I love the way she walks in and she just owns that house and does what a lot of psychic mediums can't do. And she sits down at the table and she's like, there's a sensitive in this house, and there's this and there's that, and this is why you're being haunted like this. And I mean, she rocks. I mean, she is dove so deep into her craft that it's amazing. And in my own personal opinion, I believe she's a witch, but because there's always tar water and this little juju and that juju, and she calls in and she's like, hey, you need a male witch, or you need a female witch, or you need a hoodoo priestess, or she's all into it, and I just absolutely love her.
So the Dead Files, you guys, it's a show you should probably check out, because it's really interesting. It's really cool because they go into these places that are haunted, and Amy is the psychic medium. She goes in separate and does her piece, gathers her information, does her investigation, if you want to call it that. But then they have, it's a detective, right?
A retired detective, yeah. And I think he was a homicide detective.
He goes in separately, completely separate, different time, different day, everything, and does his own investigation from the detective standpoint. And then at the end, they review notes, and it's really interesting. It really is a good show, and it's probably a good one too if you're interested in kind of seeing how that works in action. That was probably a good show to check out. But definitely there are some real mediums out there. If it's something that you're interested in, go check it out. They do get that direct knowing. They get the information. They connect. And a lot of times they'll get their information through their clairs. So if it's something that you're interested in, exploring more about, then we highly advocate working on developing the clairs, as we've talked about, practicing the exercises, and just getting better and stronger at those abilities and seeing where it takes you, because it's a real thing. But we do also want you to protect yourself.
Right.
We're going to do
very protective
things. So
very important.
Yes, very, very, very important. And we've talked about protection several times, I think, on the podcast, as far as, making sure that you're, grounding, you're connecting, you're making sure you're putting up those psychic defenses, and you're calling in love and light, and you're, blocking anything that is not something you want to play with or allow into your space, that they do not come in.
Right.
All right, you guys.
Well,
So
you carried an entity home one time.
Yes. And we have talked about that, I think, a couple times on here. You can get tangled up and wrangled up with some pretty nasty stuff. So you definitely want to be careful. And then make sure, if you need help getting rid of something, you get some help getting rid of something, because, you don't want to leave those things lingering. It's really nothing to play around with. I know sometimes people think it's cool to have a ghost hanging around, or have a spirit hanging around, or, sometimes you don't even know what it is. But for some reason, some people are fascinated with having this thing in their house. But what they don't realize is this thing is sucking your energy, and it can really be very harmful and disruptive to you, your space, your family, your home. And it's really not something that you want to just allow to hang around. I mean, if you know who or what it is, if you have a loved one that comes and visits from time to time, that's one thing. But allowing something to remain can really have a big effect on your life, your energy, and eventually your health, mental and physical.
Definitely. If you've got something in your house that's sucking you dry and making you sick, definitely find a way to get rid of it. But there's just some of them that just want to be acknowledged. They're like, hey, this is my house. They're not sucking your energy out of you. They're not harming you in any way. They're knocking your shit over to be like, hey, whoa, I'm here. And if you can make that connection, sometimes you can live in a house with a ghost happily and they won't touch your shit again. You're like, hey, I'm going to paint this room pink. All right, George? Like, you all right with that, Barb? You got it? All right, here we go. You don't like it? What color do you want?
And I guess that's another thing, too. Like, sometimes these spirits don't want to cross over. you know, and then sometimes there are spirits that are stuck and they need help crossing over.
Right.
And there's sometimes there's spirits that don't even know that they're not alive. So they don't even know there's a choice. So I don't think it would hurt to, if there's something there, you know, maybe try to contact somebody that can communicate and find out, you know, is this thing stuck? Does it want to move on? Does it even realize, you know, does this soul even realize that it has died and it doesn't even know that maybe it can go to the light and cross over and be with their loved ones and move on? So, you know, if there's something going on, I definitely think it would be a good idea to try to find somebody that can communicate and help, and, you know, even give the spirit a choice on if it wants to be there or not.
Right.
Also, with the trans mediumship, you guys, you want to be really, really careful because, you know, there is a belief that there's a link between somebody who unknowingly has allowed this trans mediumship process where you kind of let these entities in your being. There's a link between that and some mental health. There's a belief out there that those are linked. And, you know, that's like sometimes people with mental health issues, you'll see somebody really having a very in-depth conversation with somebody. And it's a legit conversation. And, you know, you're maybe only hearing one side of it, but they're talking to somebody or something. And to them, it's very, very real. And I fully believe it's entirely possible that they have opened themselves up and let a spirit or multiple spirits in unknowingly, maybe even unwillingly. And this is where they've ended up. So that's why we say you really, really want to be very careful with this stuff. It's and not fun to play around.
That's on the lines of a possession.
Right.
Not having your protection up and whatnot.
So we definitely want you to be careful, have some fun, but be safe.
Right. Stay protected.
Yes.
Yeah. And even the best protection can't always protect you completely.
So just be really cautious.
Yeah.
Make good choices. All right. So up next, we were going to talk about remote viewing. So this is another psychic ability. So remote viewing. Oh, sorry, you guys. Got my definition in here. Remote viewing is a psychic ability which one can view a person, place, or thing using the mind's eye without actually leaving the body. So I'm sure you guys have heard of this before. But basically it's you are able to see different places, people, things, events while you're in a different area. So I think the most popular and well-known types of this were used back during, well, Rose, what do you have on it? Because I feel like you had some information on this. Did you want to talk about?
Oh, no notes here. Let's see. It was, I believe, the Russians that had this capability in a war.
Okay, yeah.
And then a Russian deflected and came over here to the United States because the United States was like, how in the hell are these Russians getting all of our plans? Like, how are they seeing these things? We're not sharing it with anybody.
Right.
And so this guy is like, ta-da, this is how we're doing it. And so he started to train the government how to do remote or controlled remote viewing. Now, I have a lot of respect for this gift. So this is like a very passionate subject for me, even though I haven't dove a lot into it. I was telling Whitney the other day, it's like, I don't know, maybe I was a controlled remote viewer in my past life. And I just this has got to be respected. But it's amazing what you can do with this, because they were going in and basically spying on what the government was wanting to do, like what their next attack was and so on and so forth. So there was a program formed from that now you can learn, which is controlled remote viewing. But it's amazing how it was developed and how the government actually used it and how it was scientifically looked into and all of
So
this.
if you guys want to look up some more on it, the U.S. Army had the project called Stargate.
Yep.
So if you want to go look it up on the remote viewing that the military, that they did, and, you know, the research development and the program, it was actually a pretty big deal for quite some time that they were really practicing and working and using this, you know, and using these psychics and, you know, training on this controlled remote viewing to be able to coordinate and find things, and using GPS coordinates. And they got really very technical with it. And it's really very fascinating as far as what, you know, they can do with it now.
Yeah.
It's still, I don't know for certain if it is still in use in the military or not. I don't know that anybody would know for certain unless you're actually in it. But, you know, they still do use remote viewing in other ways now to, you know, find and help locate things like like lost kids and.
Oh yes, you can. It's used to find lost loved ones, lost children. I took one of those free master classes, and one of the stories that she had told is that her and her controlled remote viewing group sat down and helped this archaeologist that had been looking for these artifacts and stuff like that for probably, I want to say, close to 20 years. And they sat down for a week and was able to tell him the exact coordinates, what the box was going to look like, what was going to be in it. They identified every artifact that was in there. And this man went out to the coordinates and dove down and dug it up and found exactly what they seen, how they seen it. And so it's just because you can do it doesn't mean you shouldn't do it. Go get some training.
Right. Yeah. So if it's something you guys want to look into, we didn't want to get too deep into it, but just wanted to mention it as one of the psychic abilities that, you know, is something that you can explore. There are some schools actually that you can go check out if you're interested. So I'll give you a head start here if you guys are wanting to look it up. There's Psychic Horizons in San Francisco, Southern California Psychic Institute, Intuitive Insight School of Clairvoyance in San Diego. There's a Clairvoyant Center of Chicago and Envision School for Psychics. So if you guys want to check out any of those, if it's something that you're interested in and want to explore more into, or if you feel like you're ready for that next step in your psychic, clairvoyant, and, you know, clairs and all that, and you want to take it to the next level, that's definitely something you guys can check out. But yeah, essentially you're able to see things in different locations, but you're not leaving yourself necessarily. So, I mean, as far as like, it's similar to astral travel, but where within astral travel, you're actually, you know, leaving your body and saying through a cord and going to see things. With remote viewing, you're not leaving yourself. You're using your psychic abilities and your clairs to actually see this stuff without leaving the body. So that would be the difference there. So it really has a lot more emphasis on that psychic piece and your gifts. So I think the last thing we wanted to touch on. Oh, go ahead.
I was going to say, I can remote view. I wish I can control remote view, but it's like if I would have had the training that day when I got that reading and I told you, oh, what pretty crystals. Mm-hmm. And we finally figured out what it was. I mean, if I had proper training and I knew what I was doing, I would have knew exactly what it was that I was looking at instead of just that tiny little piece. And that's why I say the training is so important.
Yeah. It really takes it to the next level.
Yeah, because then you put everything together, and instead, let's say you're looking for a dog, and it's like the psychic that can say, oh, I can remote view. They're like, oh, they're under a bridge somewhere. And somebody who's actually trained can be like, oh, well, they're under this structure. They're by this. I can hear this. I can see this. I can smell this. There's a truck parked over here, and boom, the dog's found.
Right.
Right. You
just
get a lot more
yeah,
and useful information that can actually get you to where you need to be to find what needs to be found.
Right.
All right, you guys. So the last thing we wanted to kind of touch on the psychic fun stuff here is telekinesis and psychokinesis.
Okay.
So what are the differences?
Oh boy. Well, first off, have either of you ever used this or have this or are able to do anything with it?
Not to my knowledge. But give us the definitions. Maybe.
I want to so bad. I want to move things with my mind. I want to light a candle on fire without having to put a flame to it. I want it.
Every witch wants that. You see it in
the spoon
movies.
So, okay. So here's the definitions that I have come up with. So telekinesis is a psychic ability in which one can move or alter objects with the power of their thought, emotion, or other energies through non-physical means. So essentially, you can move stuff.
Unfortunately, you could be all mad and stuff and shit will start flying around in your house and you'd be like, oh my God, I'm haunted. No, it's actually you, baby.
Right. And that is a good example more of the psychokinesis, which is the ability to move something in an environment or affect an environment without physically being present to do so. So the difference being telekinesis, you're moving stuff with your mind. Psychokinesis is you're moving stuff psychically through the emotion and the energy more so than just moving it mentally with your mind. So, and that is where you end up with, yes, like Rose is talking about, the poltergeist activity.
Right.
So, go ahead.
You see it, all the time. Think Matilda. She gets angry, because she's getting yelled at all the time, and then all of a sudden, oh, she moves something, and continues practicing and practicing until she's making things float in the air. I don't know how I necessarily feel about that, because I think that if more people could do it, and if you could do it on a larger scale, that it would have been documented. There would be, recordings of it where people would be like, no, look, this legit happened.
So you're going with the scientific, logical mind of, I'm not sure that's legit.
I can't help. Okay, so I have been to mediums. They have said things about family members that they had absolutely no way of knowing. I have seen and other things, it's there. The proof, the evidence is there. But on this one, give me something, man. Make me a believer. I want to believe. But the analytical side of my mind makes it difficult.
I don't know. I don't know. I like to think it would be really awesome and really cool to be able to do it. And I do have, I have found some exercises if people want to try to practice to see if it's something that they can do. Definitely can try it out. I don't know. The verdict, I'm still out. Jury's out.
Right.
There's a man. I was going to say, there's a man that can bend spoons.
See, but I've also seen where that's been debunked. I've seen, where they have actually debunked, the spoon bending, because kind of like Huh?
I haven't seen either one of those, so I can't say one way or the other.
So it's kind of like when you're working with wires, you bend it so much it heats up and then it'll break, and you didn't have to use anything to do that. Well, if
What if
you,
the person is actually altering the elements within the spoon to heat them up, then that's what's causing it to bend.
well,
Okay, well, there's a guy in Las Vegas, Penn and Teller. I think it was Penn. He could do it. He used to do it on live TV back in the 90s. And there was reports of people at home going to get a spoon out of their drawer, and there would be spoons bent in their drawers. Then there's a group of entertainers that live there in Las Vegas. This one guy, it was his birthday. He invited the spoon bender over, and the one of the guests there was like, "Hey, bend this spoon." So he bent the spoon, and he got out of hand, and he bent like 3 or 4 of them. But unfortunately, because of what he was doing, he bent a bunch more, not meaning to.
Oh my.
So he's sitting there on, I hate to say it, but he's sitting there on Judge Jerry getting sued by his friend because he bent his expensive hotel spoons that he's been collecting for years. And the guy took a regular spoon, gave it to Judge Jerry, gave it to his bailiff, everything. And the man stood there and he said that he's going to you gather the most energy and push it through with the least resistance, with the least force. So he's sitting there and the camera is on him. There's no trick. There's no heating up. The spoon wasn't handed to him from some secret department. Right. He didn't have some warmer somewhere. It was just laying there on the counter. And he put it in his hand and he goes, and he's pushing the energy and the fucking spoon bent. And he kept doing it and it kept curling up and it kept bending. I mean, Judge Jerry had it in his hand. He was bending it and he was, like seeing if it would bend. So it's not like the guy was just like, bending it with his hand, or that little bit of heat from his hand was like made the spoon bend. I mean,
what did the judge say?
They were quite impressed. And even Judge Jerry was like, "Oh yeah, I remember that from when he was doing that back on TV, because he was a Las Vegas act. And he would do that as one of his acts. He would bend a spoon with his mind." And so he stopped doing it. So now this guy come in and he's the new spoon bender.
That's crazy. So did the judge make him pay though? I gotta know.
He didn't get as much as he wanted, but he did have to pay for the spoons. He's like, "Well, these are not the same spoons." No, wait, he threw the case out. He threw the case out because the guy didn't bring in the right quotes, because he was like, "These are not the same spoons as the ones that you were that got bent. So I can't make a comparison on them. So I have to throw your case out."
Oh, good. Okay. Because I was about to say, if that judge was impressed, I would be totally throwing that case out. I would be like, if I was a judge and I'm sitting there and I'm seeing this happening, I would be like, okay, you know what? For one, you asked for this. And 2, this is so cool. No, this is getting dismissed.
And you knew he gets out of hand, and that's what he does. I mean, and that was the whole purpose of the night. It was this guy's birthday, and he got all of these magicians and all of these people together, and they were all showing off their gifts. So he was like, "That's his." So he bent some spoons and got in trouble.
Crazy.
Oopsie poopsie.
I mean, I think it's totally awesome. And
now moving things, I'm with Courtney with
things?
With actually like moving things, like making a book float off the counter or something like that. I've never seen that, but I've seen somebody with a spoon.
I would love to. I would love to believe it, but show me proof, man.
And you see, I think that ability, because I don't know, I don't want to say de-evolved, but because we're just not in touch with that anymore, that ability is probably what manifests in a lot of hauntings, because a lot of these times you can do this and you can actually create an entity, an entity that becomes something of its own, that has its own emotions, its own feelings, its own drive. It's not like your normal poltergeist that like goes after the person it was created for. This one will just do what it wants to do. And so,
yeah,
like an out of control golem.
Yeah.
Yes, actually.
No,
and
exactly.
it's created from your own excess, supercharged, typically overly emotional, energy that has to go somewhere or into something, or it creates something. And this is what it ends up manifesting as, is this entity and this poltergeist information activity. And it's not actually a quote haunting.
Yeah, you're doing it yourself.
Right. So pretty cool. I mean, I think it's a fascinating subject. It's super, super interesting. What I found, as far as if people want to try to, practice with trying to get in touch with the energy or move things. So you take a piece of black construction paper and you get a piece of chalk and you draw a circle in the middle of the black construction paper with the chalk. Then you get some flour and you put some flour inside of the salt or the chalk circle. And then you work with and you focus on getting in touch with that energy and moving and manipulating the energy and aligning yourself with the energy of the flower to move it. And by having it on that black construction paper inside the chalk circle, you're able to tell if you're actually moving anything or not. But being that it's flour, it's going to be lightweight, so it's going to be super fine. One of the easiest things that you should be able to move if you want to try to start practicing moving stuff around.
And just remember not to blow on it. Oh, right, I did
right.
it! Oh, I did it! No, you breathed a little too hard through your nose that time.
Right, exactly.
An exhale in frustration, and all of a sudden, you have powers.
Look, it formed a heart.
Exactly. So another thing that you might want to try to move would be a feather. I would definitely start with light stuff if you want to try to practice, because it's all about the energy. I mean, essentially, that's what you're trying to do. You've got to get in touch with the energy of the object that you're trying to move, or trying to, like the guy was saying that you were talking about with the spoon, like trying to push the energy, manipulate and move the energy with as much, or, with the least amount of resistance as possible. But you've really got to figure out the energy piece, and that's what it's all about.
You've got to believe.
That too. That definitely helps.
You've got to believe. It's the most important part. If you don't believe, you're not going to be able to do nothing.
Exactly. You have to believe it's possible. And you have to believe
You've got to believe.
So I definitely think it's interesting. I would love to hear any of your stories out there. If anybody's got stories of, they've been able to move stuff, or they've had experiences, or if you guys practice and you get some results, I would love to hear it. Tell us about it.
Come teach me how to do it.
Right.
I'm going to try. Really, I've got to believe.
Hey, and if you get it to work, I mean, if you do it once,
I'm going to Vegas, baby.
Yeah, you should be able to do it again. Video that crap. Give us proof.
I'm going to Vegas, baby.
We want to see it.
Catch my act. I learned how to move flour.
Hey, I would be happy with that.
Oh, I would be too.
I would be so excited. Like, if I knew I legit did not breathe on it to move it and it started moving, I would be thrilled. I would be like, heck yes, I am taking this to the next level. What else can I do?
But, also the scientist in me, the analytical side of me is also saying, hey, make sure you don't have fans blowing, open doors, windows, really control your environment.
Right. You want
And maybe this isn't one of those things that everybody can do.
And that's entirely possible. I mean, I think it's all about, if you got it or you don't, or if you're willing to put at least the effort in to try to have it or not, that's a big part of it too. And like you said, the belief.
Right. No, definitely. I mean, if you sit there and you try, and I guess if you exercise that muscle, if you're exercising the right one,
right.
then it will get stronger, and maybe you will move the flower or the feather, or the book will fly off and hit you in the middle of the forehead. I mean, who knows?
Yeah, again, please be careful, make good choices.
She's all love and light, and I'm over here like, yeah, let's dance in the dark, baby.
I would just caution, make sure all kitchen knives and things are, very secure.
She likes to put the fun out of everything.
Well, I will say, so somebody told my daughter that she would have the ability to move water. So you can entertain and get your children out of your hair for hours just by sitting there and saying, hey, you can move water. Sit there and just concentrate on this bowl of water and become the water. She sits there forever staring at this bowl of water, trying to get the water to move. She hasn't done it yet, but I mean, she is not giving up.
Is she at least seen ripples?
Not a thing yet. She's like, are you sure I have this ability? Yes, honey. Just keep working at it.
You're going to be the best water bender ever.
Right. I mean, all I need is my son to be an air bender, and, I'm on my way.
Right. You need to become a firebender,
Right.
Since you have your little fairy, maybe it can give you some pointers.
Right. Oh, it's good times. Well, actually, so I do. It's really funny because we were planning a trip as a family to Colorado, and I kept looking at the weather going, no, that's too hot. The weather needs to come down some more. And we're like 2-3 weeks out. I'm like, no, the weather needs to come down some. That's just too warm. I don't want to be out there. And, so then, a couple days later, I checked the weather for the week that we're going to be there. And, the temperature came down a little bit. And I'm like, no, that's still not enough. I'm going to need that temperature to come down a little bit more. I'm thinking, 60s, 70s while I'm there. That's going to make me comfortable. Well, then I go and I look a couple days later, and sure enough, it is in the 60s and 70s while we're down there. And I'm like, ah. So
weather witch, huh?
So yeah. maybe I am the airbender, and I can get my son to be a firebender, and then
okay.
All I need is
we went all Avatar.
Right. I'm going full Avatar over here.
Right.
No, there's been a couple of times that like the forecast has said rain, and I've called you up and I'm like, I'm going to need you to take care of this rain situation. I'm going to need a sunny day this weekend. And you're like, okay. And then it happens.
Well, except for the one time when you were like, hey, can you make this rain go away? And I'm like, okay. But then secretly on the inside, I was like, no, I'm totally enjoying this rain. I'm loving this weather. Sorry.
Let it rain sometimes. We all need a little rain in our life.
I do like a little gloom on occasion. I'm one of the, I think I get
days are nice too.
There's the seasonal disorder. I think I have the opposite. I am not happy when it's sunny. I just come alive. So happy when it's doom and gloom outside. Give me a good hurricane, or
yeah, baby. Hell yeah. I live up here in New England, so we get wicked weird weather, so it's fun.
It's totally fun, we're over here. Let's have a hurricane party.
So what you're saying is, I don't want to take you to the beach with me.
You know I despise the beach.
I hate the sand.
I hate the sun.
Every day we're there, so we don't have to go.
No, when you're as white as I am, with absolutely zero ability to tan, the sun is not your friend.
Yeah, no, you burn to a lobster crisp.
Within 15 minutes, I am burned. I like to moonbathe, though.
Oh, I should try that. Now, do you do it in the nude?
One time.
Oh, just one time. You need to make yourself a little fenced-in area. You need to make yourself a little fenced-in area with like 6-7 foot high fences that you can go in on and just strip all your clothes off and plant yourself some really nice, soft, lush, yummy grass, and just go out there and have your moon ritual and moon bathe in the nude.
Not like that's the entire reason I bought my property, is because you cannot see any houses around me. You can't see my house from the road, and I was going to install an outdoor shower because why not?
Because why not?
Why not?
I do like that idea though of that little ritual area there. I'm digging that. Sounds good to me.
Well, that way you don't scare your poor kids. Look outside, mom's like shaking her titties in the fucking moonlight. Yeah, come on, Hecate.
Man,
recharge me.
My kids.
That would scare some kids off from being a witch.
Right. I'm over here just happy my kids have decided they like wearing clothes, because they used to be little nudists, man. They used to come home from school. They'd strip down to their skivvies. We called them the skivvy squad. I was like, is it that hard keeping clothes on all day? Lord help.
I struggle with that myself too.
Right. But not going to lie, after the kids are in bed, husband and I go swimming. It's nice. Neighbors can't see you. You strip down outside before you walk in the house.
There you go.
It's nice.
All right, you guys. I think we have had plenty of fun for this evening with lots of fun detours. Because now I'm thinking about some moon bathing coming up on the next full moon. Sounds fun. Might be an area.
Right.
I do have neighbors.
You do have
really close. And they can't really see all that well, especially on one side of the house. There's a whole tree line, but still, I do have neighbors.
Well, if you ever need an area, my husband goes to bed at 10 o'clock, so come on over and the backyard's yours.
You make yourself a privacy box in the backyard.
Yeah, I'll go that route. All right, you guys, thank you so much for joining us. We hope you've had fun and had a little bit of interest piqued to go check out some more and discover some more for yourself. But we'd love to hear from you. You can reach us. We'd love to get emails, and we've gotten some, and we really appreciate them. And if you guys, if you have questions, comments, please send us an email. So it's thewitchsource@gmail.com. And if you have not yet, please, we would love for you to follow us on Facebook, Instagram, subscribe on YouTube, and if you're on Facebook, we'd love to have you in the Facebook group, The Witch Source Society. It's the fun place to be. And if you're listening to us, wherever you're listening to us at, if you're enjoying it, we would love it if you would leave us a great review and share, you guys. We really appreciate that as well. And if you leave us a good review, it helps other people find us as well. But yeah.
Yes.
We also have, go check out the website, thewitchsource.com. We have got lots of magical goodies and supplies that you can check out for sale. We also have readings available online. You can go check that out, get a private reading, a double reading, email reading. We got lots of offerings, so make sure you check that out.
And what is our newest offering on our website?
Oh, newest offerings. Okay, so I've got some tumbled stones posted up. And this week I'm going to get posted up. We have new sprays. So if you guys have not, and it's actually one of our top sellers, is our Clear and Protect spray, which is awesome. You can use it in place of saging, or if you can't sage, or like if you're traveling. So we have a large size and small size. So if you're traveling and you want to clear out your hotel room, if you need if you've just been around some nasty energy during the day, you want to clear it out. If you're having people come over, or you can clear out anytime you need to. Just wish you had a top opportunity to sage, and you can't get that done to get your house or yourself smudged and cleared. The spray is fabulous. You can also use it to clean your tools, your altar, your cards between readings. It's a really great product. But now I'm going to add this week, we have Clear, Protect, and Love, which has rose in it. So it's got a nice rosy smell, and it's amazing, but it helps amp up and bring in that love energy to you and your space, and self-love, which is also very important. And then we also have Clear, Protect, and Sleep. So this one's good. It's got lavender in it. So we've had several requests for our Clear and Protect spray with lavender. So now it's available. And it's great to use between or before, if you're going to do like dream work, or if you're going to try some astral travel, or if you're wanting to do divination work, it'd be good to use it before that. So lots of options, but definitely if sleep, if you're wanting to do some dream work, remember your dreams. Night worker, if you're a night worker, be good for you as well, to help clear and protect and get ready and amp up that magical energy for that work. So, but yeah,
right.
Those are the most ones.
Because, a lot of the podcasts, they use Patreon. Well, we don't want to, take money and not offer you guys anything. We love our listeners, and, we want you to definitely get something when you support us, and you can definitely help support us by, purchasing, your magical witchy stuff.
Yeah.
On the website.
Get your magical supplies, and it helps us out. Same thing with the readings, and we are doing, if you guys have not found us yet on YouTube, we have Witchy Talk and card pulls on Friday nights at 9 p.m. Eastern time. So you can check us out, join us live, get a card pull, have some witchy talk with us. And I do card pulls and readings on Mondays live on YouTube at 12:30 Eastern time as well. So if you guys want to free reading and say hi.
You can also see that on our Facebook group page, the Witch Source Society.
Oh,
so
yeah.
Definitely, head over there. You see all the announcements, when it's going to happen. Yeah.
So, all right, you guys, I think I hit all the plugs like I'm supposed to.
Good job.
So thanks for being here. Thanks for joining us. And we would love to hear from you. So reach out, send an email. I like getting them.
Definitely.
All right. Bye, you guys.
Bye.
Bye.